Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today I figured I'd finally do a video on how Elden Ring's lack of guidance is not only refreshing, but it's actually a feature, as opposed to the flaw most people mistake it as. This video won't really have any spoilers in it. The footage will probably be my PlayStation 5 character running around in Liurnia, maybe a little bit of Rurikhan Academy, but you can also feel free to just minimize the video as the focus will be the discussion itself. As with a lot of my videos, my inspiration for this topic came from the comment section, and I think I might actually antagonize a few people here today. But after getting beat over the head with the same comment over and over across multiple videos, I think I'm entitled to a little catharsis. So let's just jump right into it. With Elden Ring being one of the most successful From Software games of all time, we're once again witnessing several newcomers to the franchise. And as per usual, I'd like to once again welcome you all to the wonderful experience that is the launch of a brand new Souls game. And I realize we're over a month into the release of the game at this point, but I've been busy recording my blind playthrough, and that was extremely time consuming, so this is the soonest I was able to get back to regular content creation. Now I want you to imagine a hypothetical scenario. Let's say there's an Italian restaurant you usually go to. They have the best lasagna in the business, and it's quite simply delicious. You go there all the time with your family and friends, and you always leave extremely satisfied with both the service and the food, which is the main reason why you keep coming back. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you made a new friend. His name is Tom, and Tom's been asking you about that Italian place you always talk about, even though he's not the biggest fan of lasagna or Italian food in general. Look, Tom is a weird guy, okay? I mean, who the fuck doesn't like Italian food? But whatever. So you tell Tom you're gonna book a table for the two of you so he can try this heavenly lasagna for himself, and off you go. You're now at the restaurant, and to celebrate the occasion, the chef comes out and serves you some free gourmet garlic bread and an amazing wine. Because you see, the chef noticed you're a regular, and he wanted today's meal to be extra special. You taste the garlic bread, and the texture is perfect. The garlic is subtle and not overwhelming, and the butter amount is just right. This might be the best garlic bread you've ever had, and the wine is fantastic too. Now Tom, he's not a wine guy, so he asks for a beer instead. He tastes the garlic bread and complains it lacks cheese. That's strange, but the chef tries to be accommodating and brings him some of that mozzarella powder you usually see in Italian restaurants. And Tom proceeds to destroy his garlic bread by pumping it full of mozzarella like a fucking savage. He also tried convincing you to do it, but you know better than to ruin the taste of a good garlic bread with cheese. As you wait for the lasagna to arrive, Tom is constantly making remarks about how the restaurant is not very modern, and how he's beginning to think he'd rather have grabbed the burger at McDonald's. But you tolerate it, hoping the lasagna will change his mind. You take another sip of wine as Tom browses through TikTok, ignoring your attempts to make conversation. You're beginning to wonder if this wasn't a mistake, but that thought was interrupted by the chef. Your lasagna is here. It looks absolutely delicious. The chef himself cuts a portion for you and your friend, who is still looking at TikTok memes on his phone while the chef is serving. The chef looks a little frustrated as he delivers the customary "enjoy your meal." Tom finally puts his fucking phone down, the disrespectful prick. He takes a quick glance at the lasagna and quickly calls the chef over and asks if they have some barbecue sauce. The chef looks over at you, and it's an extremely embarrassing moment. But after some back and forth, the chef brought over some ketchup. Because as it turns out, no, they didn't really have barbecue sauce in a traditional Italian restaurant. Your lasagna is getting cold as you witness Tom literally murdering his lasagna by drowning it in ketchup, essentially destroying the precise balance of flavors the chef worked so hard to create. In order to regain your composure, you head over to the bathroom and splash some water over your face. And as you return to the table, Tom is now committing the cardinal sin of drowning your lasagna in ketchup and telling you, "Trust me, it tastes better this way." The evening ends with you and the chef inside your car, both Googling for the nearest pig farm. It wasn't the optimal end to an evening, but at least you can still return to the restaurant to enjoy future lasagnas. Now, some of you might not understand the ending of the story, and that's okay. The real important part was when Tom drowned your lasagna in ketchup, which you didn't want, the chef didn't intend, and it basically ruined your meal and insulted the chef. You see, when people try to make the argument that certain changes won't affect the Souls community, they basically have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Because they haven't really been with the community long enough to understand what it is that they are saying. Not to mention, it's extremely interesting to hear the gaming community condemn formulaic open world games for how predictable and soulless they feel, only to then turn around and demand that Elden Ring should conform to the same Ubisoft norm of quest logs, map markers, detailed optional objectives, and then some. We need a quest log. We need quest markers. We need more details in the map. We need some barbecue sauce for our lasagna. I can't believe this game released like this in 2022. This game simply does not respect the player's time. Now, that last one is particularly egregious when, if anything, it's the standard open world games that disrespect your time by not giving you meaningful rewards for exploration or even meaningful side quests in general. Or in the case of Ubisoft, straight up breaking the progression of their games in order to push XP boosters and coin doublers. And I swear to God, if I get a fucking Ubisoft zealot in here defending this anti-consumer bullshit, I will actually just permaban you. Because that's how fucking sick I am of people who have been brainwashed into acceptance because you are a part of the problem. And I'm quite sick of coddling your addled brain by trying to be reasonable in the comment section. I'm just done. Anyway, let me get back on topic here. If you enjoy the status quo of the open world genre, which provides its players with ample guidance and likes to hold your hand to make sure you try out all of the rides on your journey to the completion of the game, that's fine. Enjoy yourself and have a blast. I also enjoyed the odd jaunt into those worlds myself. Good examples of that being Horizon Forbidden West and Ghost of Tsushima. I love those games. They were great fun. I also enjoy quality fast food on occasion with the wife. We love burgers. They're great. But these are not the kind of experiences I'm looking for when I dive into a From Software title. Very much like I'm not looking for a cheeseburger if I go to a traditional Italian restaurant. And I feel they've actually done a fantastic job of bringing their own flavor of open world to the table. I mean, being able to maintain the feeling of a Souls game with minimal guidance in a massive open world is one hell of an achievement. But why, then, are people upset about their Elden Ring experience? Because their brain has been conformed to accept comfortable experiences. They've been indoctrinated. And an interesting phenomena about this indoctrination is that upon hearing this sentence, a lot of these individuals will feel triggered, and they'll begin to write a mean comment indicating that I am the one who's been indoctrinated by From Software, that I've come to accept the flaws in Elden Ring's design because I am a biased fanboy. But curiously enough, you don't see me going out of my way to ask for changes in other video games in order for them to cater to my personal tastes. I see what each game has to offer, and based on that, I make a decision as to whether or not that game is something I'm interested in. What I don't do is demand that the developers change the game to be more enjoyable for me. I want everyone to understand that when it comes to guided, easy mode, and holdy theme park experiences, the market is fucking saturated. And I say this across all genres, not just open world. But when it comes to challenging gameplay experiences that reward exploration and thinking for yourself, that niche is actually severely underserved. And it's a niche that From Software is quite happy to fill. Unlike a lot of other developers, From Software is quite comfortable to develop entire areas and boss fights that a large percentage of players won't even discover. And this is where you'll say, that's dumb and a waste of resources. To which I'll reply, no. That is art. You see, this developer is creating an experience that is tailor-made for their player base. And if more people join in, that's great. But if those people want to see everything, they need to understand how things work. From Software respects your intelligence. They expect you to figure things out. They're not going to coddle you like a child in an amusement park, and that is the Souls experience. And if that is not what you're interested in, then why the fuck do you care what the Metacritic score is? Because that's another topic that comes up a lot. How's this game a 10 out of 10? I can't even beat the first boss. Well, I can buy a book on nuclear fusion. This doesn't mean the author is responsible for my understanding of the subject matter. You can buy Elden Ring. That doesn't mean you are entitled to finishing the game without mastering its combat and understanding its world. And over the years, one of the things that people have forgotten as games became increasingly guided experiences is the joy that comes from figuring something out. The simple act of piecing together a puzzle or finding a secret passage that is actually meaningful for the story and progression of the game. These things are, for the most part, a lost art. Lost in favor of the next theme park ride and the steady dopamine hits. And I want you to understand that when I say this, I'm not saying that other video games are bad. I'm saying that there's thousands of them. And there is only one Elden Ring. There are only 3 Dark Souls games. There's only one Sekiro, and there is only one Bloodborne. And if me liking these experiences as they are and wanting them to be as uncompromising as they are makes me a gatekeeper, then post me at the fucking gate. I'll be the gatekeeper that's constantly making guide videos to try and get as many people through the gate as possible, so long as they promise not to drown their lasagnas in ketchup. Elden Ring, like most Souls games, is actually designed to give you a tremendous feeling of accomplishment through overcoming challenges. And that is built into the game in both combat and exploration. Finding the next step to a questline or a secret path into a hidden area can be just as exciting as beating a tough boss. The guidance of modern open world games would destroy this sense of discovery that a lot of us get from this game. And now comes the ever-present, "But Rurikhan, what if the guidance was optional?" Which is always a frustrating exchange, because you can usually tell the people that asked this question just ignored literally everything you tried to say before about how fun and fulfilling it is to experience the joy of discovery for yourself, in favor of simply getting their way in spite of everything you just talked about. Surely, if it was optional, it wouldn't impact you. Why would you care? Which is usually the same argument people bring up about the difficulty, but let's not bring that one up, otherwise I'll be writing this script until the next From Software release, at which point I would have to write another script to talk about the same fucking thing all over again, and as you are well aware, I don't like writing scripts because I'm not good at it. So to make things simple, it doesn't just affect me, it affects the whole community. The Souls series has always been designed as a shared community experience. The endgame message system should clue you in on that. For those of you unaware, if you play online, you can leave hints behind for other players, warning them of imminent dangers or treasures. You can use this message system to mislead players into an early death. But ultimately, it's a communal experience. If the game offered additional guidance in the game in the form of a quest log, quest tracker to allow players to complete all quest lines, find optional dungeons and secret bosses and weapons in a different way, what impact do you think this would have on the rest of the community? For starters, there would no longer be a need to share this information among ourselves, since it's all accessible in-game. A large portion of the game's mystery would simply be gone, as the game would have been figured out from day one. All for the sake of the convenience of modern video games, which no one in this game's core audience wants in any way, shape, or form. Rather than the vibrant community of newcomers and veterans we have now, trying to piece things together and engage in discourse, the communal aspects of the game would dwindle, and its player base would lose interest after one playthrough as the mystery is no longer there. Why do you think people replay these games? Because we want to find things we missed the first time around. Take me, for example. I missed plenty of things in my first run of Elden Ring, including one whole area that I could see in the map, and I knew there were things there, but I was never able to unlock the path that would take me there because I missed things. Not only that, but I've also gotten characters killed unintentionally because I made bad decisions. And friends have also informed me of some bosses that I have missed. This is all part of the experience. Your failure is part of the allure of this game. You fail so you can try and do better next time. This is true both of bosses and quest lines. Each playthrough arms you with more knowledge of the world and the people living in it. Reading item descriptions, paying close attention to character dialogue and interactions. All of this makes you a better Elden Ring player. But now, what if I were to tell you that there is actually a ridiculous amount of guidance in the game, even if you remove the messages left behind by players? See, I purposefully did my first playthrough offline in order to avoid any kind of player guidance, and for all the complaints about lack of guidance, I would say that Elden Ring leads you by the nose more so than any other Souls game that came before it. Let's start by talking about the guidance of grace, which is explained to you the moment you set foot in Limgrave. In select sites of grace, there will be a faint light that points you not only to all the major story events, but also to select quest lines. The guidance of grace has the subtlety of a fucking sledgehammer, and if you actually don't know where to go by just looking at the guidance of grace, I genuinely question your capability to survive in society nowadays. I mean, the lands between is easier to navigate than Lisbon, and by any country standards, Lisbon is a tiny city. Beyond the guidance of grace, there are statues that point you towards optional dungeons. Now, if you see several quirky-looking detailed statues of old ladies that look exactly the same with a finger pointing in a very specific direction and you never think to interact with them, then I just have to question how deeply indoctrinated have you been by mainstream games that you can't even identify the simplest of patterns. Finding optional landmarks to explore out in the world is also fairly easy. And if by any chance they happen to be a little more hidden, you'll often see the glowing silhouettes of jellyfish, marking interesting locations you might want to explore. I mean, they literally put huge, glowing, floating balls of light as an indicator, hey, there might be something here, you might want to check it out. And when all this fails, the developers themselves put messages in the ground that will also help you on your exploration. So there's plenty of guidance throughout the whole game, it's just not autopilot guidance with a big GPS arrow always pointing you towards your next objective, and your character constantly monologuing about what's happening around you and what they think you should be leading them to. Anyway, I suck at writing these, let's try to wrap this up into some form of conclusion. First, there's literally thousands of traditional open world games with quest logs, trackers, GPS arrows, etc., so if you really need that guidance, you are spoiled for choice. Second, adding additional guidance, even if optional, would make for a worse product and damage the shared community experience, which in turn would alienate a core portion of the existing audience and lead to less online discourse and sales. Third, you're not supposed to figure everything out in one playthrough. This is why New Game Plus exists. Fourth, there's actually quite a lot of guidance in the game, if you bothered to pay attention. And most importantly, fifth, don't put ketchup on a good lasagna, that's disgusting, and if you do it, you might find yourself being eaten by pigs. Thanks for watching, like, share, and subscribe, and I'm out of here.